Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was sorry. For a moment, you ever have one of those dreams? You know, I thought there's been movies about this. You have a dream that you wake up and you're back in school. You're back in high school. For me, it was back with Miss McCall's class in North Hall High School, American government class. And it's the proper role of government and the different checks and balances and, you know, what is Congress's role and what's the president's role and what's the judiciary's role. We could stop this hearing right now because the chairman just laid out all the congressional routes and avenues that Congress has to it. And we're going to have a time, and I'm glad the panel's here. Y'all are great folks. You've got scholarly work. We're going to hear some, wonderful things. But we've stopped right here. The problem is we're just dragging this on. It's not that you want to come to impeachment. The chairman talked about impeachment. If that's what you want to do, then that's the part. We don't need to discuss, is this a constitutional right of Congress to do impeachment? That is exactly what Congress is right to do. The constitutional processes are very well addressed in the Constitution and in our processes. But instead, we come here today to have another almost impeachment hearing, but not an impeachment hearing. We want to get facts. We want to do this. No, we're just waiting on and on. I'm trapped back in 9th grade. Miss McCall was a wonderful teacher, but I don't want to go back through it again. This is black and white. We know this problem here. So what are we not doing? Instead of this morning at 9 o'clock on a Friday on a fly-out day when we are actually, the chairman and I have a bill on the floor here in just a little bit that actually touches real people's lives in New York from the 9/11 fund, which is a very valid thing that we need to be doing. Yesterday, we spent this entire committee time arguing over subpoenas and the discussion on the border, but yet, why wouldn't we use this 9 o'clock time to actually have a markup of actual immigration bills, such as mine that addresses border issues? Now, you may disagree with what I propose, but that's what markups are for. That's what actually is taking this time, and you have a bill. Put your bills up. Let's actually get to actually solving real issues instead of having theoretical college discussions on what is Congress's power. If we don't know what Congress's power is now, this hearing's not going to help us. In fact, it's ridiculous. Legislation, I agree with the chairman. The chairman talked about election, which actually the Mueller report actually found election interference. Why aren't we putting those bills forward instead of having our authority taken over by the House Admin Committee on election bills because they don't want to run it through here? Let's solve problems. Process. Here's our biggest thing from yesterday. And maybe this is it, is what the process is. We know what the process is. The majority just can't find their way to figure out what they want to do with that process. And so next week we have Robert Mueller coming in here and the whole bottom row is disenfranchised for the most part. I guess there's some more negotiations going on. I've read that in the media. Maybe I need to call Chairman Schiff and make sure that that was okay, because they were undoubtedly driving this ship because they all get to talk next week. My side doesn't, and neither does the Democratic side get to talk. It disenfranchises Florida, it disenfranchises North Dakota, it disenfranchises everyone. But instead of that, we're doing this. It just frankly boggles the mind. But I will say this. If there's anybody on this committee, and there are very wonderful people on both sides of this committee who are very, very intelligent. And you can ask your questions today, and we can talk about the constitutional processes, and you've got some great folks here to talk to you about it. But in all due respect, we know what the constitutional process is here. We just want to dance around it so we can keep another round of stories going that the Judiciary Committee is pursuing and harassment and doing what it needs to do to make sure this administration's held accountable because we don't like him. The economy's good, life's going better, and we don't like it because we don't like the November 16th election. That's all this is about. We found that out again yesterday. We were going to find it out again this morning. So for everybody who didn't get to the wonderful ability to be in Miss McCall's 9th grade American government class at North Hall High School, this may be your opportunity. Get your horn books out, get your study books out. This is going to be a constitutional process of what we already know is our processes, but we're going to have some experts tell us what those processes are. Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of things you could be calling today. This isn't one of them. Why don't we actually take up real legislation to fix the border crisis, to fix the issues that we all talk about up here? Instead, we have hearings. Our body is to actually legislate. You and I have legislated before. Let's start legislating and stop the show. But as again, the popcorn's cooking. It's time, as I've always said, let the show begin. I yield.